It's live bold and boss up time, guys. Steph and I are here at the Mahaffey Theater live at the Tampa Bay Tech Powered Up Tech Fest. And you will never guess who we're speaking to. It's Igor Jablokov, the CEO of Pryon, the one and only who created Alexa. You know, the thing that you have in your house that's you're like, hey, Alexa, turn on the music. Hey, Alexa, adjust the temperature. That Alexa, which by the way was named after his sister. Isn't that hilarious? I love that. He is so smart, funny, charming, and we just have a fantastic conversation with him. Tell me why AI is like a hall of mirrors.
Yeah, so you have to think that internet and the web as you know it died a couple of years ago. And here's why. We used to go on Google and type in searches, and we would get the output of human ingenuity, creativity, and things of that sort, whether it's accessing pictures or audio streams, music, writing and things of that sort. But now with the rise of generative AI, what you unfortunately have is a hall of mirrors where it's all sorts of vomit from these systems that are essentially producing all this content as well. And so we're no longer hearing the authentic voices of the creators anymore. As a result of that, very serious organizations, whether it's government institutions or commercial entities, have to have a fallback position where they create a knowledge cloud inside of their organization that will safeguard what they consider as truth so they can still operate. And where have we seen that before? Well, in Norway, they created a seed bank above the Arctic Circle where they hid all the non-GMO seeds so we can reconstruct agriculture. So right now, the things that you're going to be treasuring and safeguarding the most is actual human creativity and innovation.
Isn't that interesting? Wow. Don't get me started on the seeds. That's like a whole nother like rabbit hole that I could get into.
Well, I know you mentioned on stage that AI can kind of pull from AI too, and then you get this distortion, and then it's not even like real information anymore. Like, which to me, or not that it's not real information, but it's not accurate, I guess is the right.
That's exactly right. The way that these large language model works, and everybody thinks that they can guardrail these large language models, but Jan LeCun, who's won a Turing Award and the famed scientist from Meta slash Facebook, said that it's an impossibility. You're never going to get the errors out of these type of AI models. It's like trying to guardrailing, one of these AIs is like trying to keep Donald Trump on a teleprompter. You can try, while he's in the Oval Office, but as soon as he goes home at night and accesses social media, he's going to be going way off script and may end up even contradicting the stuff that he said earlier in the day. And that's what large language models do.
Interesting. How did you get your start into AI and building the company that you've built?
Yeah, actually, it goes back actually a long while. If you think about it, there's different moments in our lives, even when we're children, where something happens that, to use the Gen Z expression, where we get shook by something, right? Because as children, we only remember highs and lows. And for me, I was born in Greece to two artist parents, no running water, no TV, no electricity, no radio. We practically lived in a cave. And one day I saw a hurt dolphin that was struck by a propeller blade. Wow. And that's when the first idea popped in my head. Why can't I talk to you? Why can't I talk to you? So I remember that being the first thought ever that kind of triggered this interest in natural language processing. And so all of us, have those different experiences as children that end up changing the course of the rest of our lives. And of course, that's a tragedy that befalls a lot of manatees and things of that sort in this area as well.
Wow. You mentioned also on stage how, what you've built, right, kind of seemed crazy to everybody else 15, 10, even 5 years ago. What do you think it was where what happened where people were like, oh, maybe you're not crazy. Maybe this is really smart.
I don't know. It's always in hindsight, right? I mean, thankfully, people came to that realization while I'm still living.
Right.
Unfortunately, for a lot of artists, they have to be dearly departed before we start understanding what they were contributing in terms of visual arts, sculptural arts, music, and things of that sort. So at least it happened within my lifetime. But this is what I tell a lot of entrepreneurs. It's like, um, you better be really sure about what you're doing and really feel it from the inside out, because you're going to hear so many no's. And if they take you off course, then you weren't the one that was meant to, create, that venture. And so the things that I tell entrepreneurs is, you think that you have to have a big safety net when you start your venture. That's not true. Right? You can start. I only had $74 in my savings account when I started the last company, and it's because I was sure that I was the only one that could see that based, on the experiences and the access that I had at that moment in time. So I didn't feel like I needed any sort of safety net. The second is the 2 a.m. Puzzle that I give them. I'm like, when you're lying on your back and staring at the ceiling, late at night, and you know that you're supposed to be going to sleep because you have an early day the following day, what's keeping you up? What are you reading? What are you poking around? What are you experimenting with? Whatever that thing is, that should be your life's career and journey and things of that sort. And I'll give you one of the funniest stories. I remember giving one of these style talks at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was walking to my car. This fellow chased after me and said, "Hey, I have this idea. It will end up potentially curing cancer and also create non-lethal crowd control things so people aren't harmed during protests and things like that." And I'm like, "Tell me more about your idea." And he told me. And I'm like, "So what's the problem?" He's like, "Well, I work as a bank teller. And in order to do this, I have to second mortgage my house and give everything up." And that's when I said, "Well, at 2 o'clock in the morning, what are you thinking about? Which life path is going to give you the greatest regret and things of that
Mhm.
sort?" And at times I sound like a sphinx, kind of giving the questions back to these individuals. And he said, "Yeah, I really want to do this." I'm like, "Then keep going. Don't worry about it. You'll know whether it works out or not." A year later, he ends up in the Guinness Book of World Records, and
Really?
that's how the Carolina Reaper pepper was born. The hot pepper was
Wow.
born.
That's amazing. And to know that you helped make an impact on so many people's lives. I mean, even by what you've done and even by speaking to people like that, just asking those questions, like I can't even imagine like how that must feel. Did you have someone that inspired you to help like think like that or ask questions like that? Or how'd you get your
Yeah,
inspiration?
it's never one person, right? That contributes to who we become as people. I mean, there's great mentors. They're the people that we work with, our bosses at times. It's the educators, it's our family members, it's our friends, your aunts and uncles and your grandparents, parents, and things of that sort. And it's even the stuff that people don't like, to talk about. It's even the dark moments that we experience. If we suffer abuses and things of that sort as well, it teaches us who not to become
Mhm.
in some ways. Like, once you find your station in life, you even say, "Hey, if I had access to a time machine, I would not go back and change, what I was like as a teenager, as an adolescent, because I had to go through some of those challenges in order, to make us more anti-fragile."
So
For
true.
sure. Yeah. I have a question. Okay, so you built this company, right? You first of all, you got inspired when you were younger, right, with the dolphin idea and just kind of kept going and it turned into building your company and then selling it, right, to a really large organization. How did it get to that point? Did you know you wanted to sell it? Did you seek them out? How did that work?
Yeah, great question. I didn't want to sell the company. Well, I mean, what artist wants to actually sell their paintings? My mom has sold nothing that she
Really?
ever created, right? Because they were her babies, right? In some ways. So no, I wasn't looking to sell. It was actually though, because of the 2008 downturn, the majority of startup failed during that time. And so my venture capitalists, because many of their portfolio companies were failed during that time frame, once Google tried to buy us and Microsoft tried to buy us and Apple was thinking about it, and Nuance wanted to, and then Amazon eventually did. They were euphoric that they showed up with a publisher's clearinghouse check and they said exit stage right. And I will tell you, when people ask me, what was the emotion like in there? I mean, one of the contrarian things that I tell you is they're like, "Oh my gosh, your life now just changed. All the stars just changed, and you look down at a bank statement, and it feels so unusual. And I'm like, yeah, I was depressed because I spent years creating this organization of like-minded people and stuff like that for all of us to work together. And I adored, spending each and every day with these individuals. And now I lost, access to that. That's another thing that's curious. Behind a lot of entrepreneurs, um, if they're misfits in different environments, right? That's why you see a lot of immigrant founders, running these style of companies. You see a lot of folks that maybe have like touch autism or things of that sort, and they feel like they don't fit in the academic environment. They don't fit in that big company. They don't fit in these different organizations. They don't fit in the countries that they came from. But when they create these ventures, they essentially start attracting like-minded people as well, and it becomes like a pseudo family, from a certain way. And so they end up missing out on the other side. It doesn't, no entrepreneur is compelled to exit. The only ones that do that are more coin operated,
Right.
and they're more carpetbaggers.
Did they want you to stay on afterwards? Because you're like the mastermind behind it all. I feel like I would want to keep you,
Right.
and not let you go.
Well, one of the things that they were joking, they're like, gosh, Igor, we already have a CEO, because they didn't see me as somebody that could report to anybody. They weren't sure what to do with me. I'm like, look, let me help write a strategic plan for how this stuff will roll out. And then now I'm going to, go orthogonal. I'm going to pivot and start working on more national security oriented things. I received an Eisenhower Fellowship, which was chaired by General Colin Powell. I became a Truman National Security Fellow. I became an entrepreneur in residence for Blackstone. Just started doing all these other things because I think it's healthy to start walking in towards a different path for brain elasticity standpoint. I got to tell you, I tried moving away from AI as fast as possible
Really?
because I was afraid of being typecast in that, sort of like, like Jim Carrey being typecast as a pet detective for the
Right. As a
rest of his
funny
life.
guy, right?
Right,
Mhm.
right. So I really, similar to artists, I tried working in other mediums and in other art forms and stuff like that because I felt it was unhealthy to stay in that bubble. But of course, the bubble drew me back, several years later.
Wow. Where do you see, I mean, I guess I'm going back to AI, but where do you see that going in the next year or 5 years? Is it going to like change our world like everyone's talking about it? It already has, but even more so?
I think one of the things that people express is this might be humanity's last invention. That's it.
Oh,
After
interesting.
that, machine intelligence will invent everything that we need or want. So it might end up becoming the last thing that we as biological organisms ever invent. And then we start collaborating with it, and then eventually it starts creating all these things for us.
That's very scary statement, but kind of also exciting too. I mean, like on one hand, gosh, we're very creative beings. You know, are all AI just going to invent everything that we do need? Or maybe you just have the idea, type it into the system, and then it'll do it for you
Right.
in that sort of way. That's really interesting to think about.
Well, somebody once asked me, hey, what's the future of speech recognition? And they were waiting for me to say, oh, maybe it's doing languages, real time and stuff like that. And I said, the future of speech recognition is you not saying anything.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Because if something already knows, who you are as a person, what your schedule look like, the gifts that you need to procure and things of that sort, it would automatically be doing that so you saying anything is an exception process. So in what you just said, hey, is it going to be waiting for us to type, prompts in and compel it to do certain things? I'm like, the really good stuff and the really scary stuff won't even require you to say anything. It'll just automatically bring you a glass of water because it knows, that your Apple Watch is saying that you're starting to get dehydrated. It'll bring you the perfect vitamin. It'll start, it'll buy the gift, for your parents and things of that sort based on, something that they need because it knows their shopping list or what's missing in their cupboard and things of that sort. Yeah, it'll be all these little things that are completely automated behind the scenes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Which is scary in a way. It makes me go to the movie WALL-E,
Yeah.
where all the people just get fat because everything's just handed to them. Well, that's a whole nother rabbit hole again, but I like your thought around, hey, it's really not about words and typing things in. It'll just automatically know what you need. Cause I do feel that there's there's a lack of language around things that we innately feel, or there's a lot of times where I'm lacking the words and I know how I feel. I just don't know how to properly articulate it.
Right.
So that resonates well with me, because it would be wonderful if I could either have words to describe that, or just something completely understands what I'm feeling without me having to say something.
Right. Well, don't worry too much about the Wally world actually becoming possible, because here's what they got right and here's what they got wrong.
Oh, okay.
People will become more lazy, but they have Ozempic. They got half that right.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. So funny. Well, we appreciate you joining us today. It was amazing to hear you speak on stage, and just all of the knowledge that you shared. I know a lot of people were in there taking notes because I saw them. So I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us. And I'm excited to see
What's next?
Yeah, what's next.
I think the best part is when you have certain folks in the AI industry that are responsible actors. They want to actually put the human at the center, right? And respect that individual for their non-obvious object associations, their creativity, their innovative insights. Because one of the things that people miss is that we are quantum computers. There are certain things that we can do that none of these GPTs can do. Like one side of our brain talks to the other side of our brain without being connected to it. That they're finding these constructs inside of our brains, tubes of tubes that take a quantum signal that literally could actually be connecting the three of us, or your family members, or a total stranger on the other side of the globe, or plant and animal life. And if I leave all of you with a hopeful message, it's this: the big thing that's ahead of us post 2030 is the fact that we will finally be able to speak with animal and plant life. Once that actually happens, it will absolutely change human existence. We'll become better stewards of this planet when we can actually more closely empathize with the life that we're sharing this experience with. In the same way that once machine translation came into the fore, it wasn't the situation anymore where people would quote unquote discover new lands and call them savages because they don't understand their language, they don't understand their culture, they don't understand their science, they don't understand their art and things of that sort. But that was able to be soothed. Now that's the next era. And so that's the world that's waiting for children. And any baby that you hold now will either be the last mortal human generation or the first immortal human generation as well. And what will that do, to the world at large as well, and allow us to project, our values and our explorations throughout the solar system. That's exciting.
That
And
is.
it all starts with small sparks at times, us as children getting inspired by the things we see around us.
I love that.
That is very exciting. I hope my dog lives to be post 2030.
Yeah.
Right?
I can read his mind.
I know, that would be amazing.
But thank you, Igor. We
Thank you
appreciate
so
being here.
much. This was amazing.
Great. Thanks for having me.